Let me share something deeply personal with you. 3 years ago, at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday night, I heard a sound that still haunts me. The crash of my 73-year-old mother falling in her bathroom. When I rushed over, I found her sitting on the cold tile floor, tears in her eyes, not from pain, but from something far worse. The realization that her own body had betrayed her. I couldn't catch myself, honey," she whispered. "My legs felt like they weren't even mine anymore." That moment changed everything for me as both a daughter and a geriatric health specialist. You see, my name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I've spent the last 15 years helping families navigate the challenges of aging. But nothing, no textbook, no research paper, had prepared me for watching my own mother's confidence crumble in real time. What I discovered in the weeks that followed would revolutionize not just my mother's life, but the lives of thousands of seniors I've worked with since. The culprit wasn't just getting older. It was something far more insidious. Something happening to your muscles every single night while you sleep. Something that medical professionals rarely talk about in terms that matter to you and your daily life. Every night after age 65, your body enters what I call the quiet thief mode. While you're peacefully sleeping, dreaming of grandchildren or tomorrow's garden work, your muscle fibers are literally being broken down faster than they're being rebuilt. It's called sarcopenia, but I prefer to call it what it really is: the silent stealing of your independence, one night at a time. Here's what scared me most. The National Institute on Aging found that adults can lose up to 8% of their muscle mass per decade after 65. But here's the part that will shock you. When specific nutrients are missing during your overnight recovery period, this loss can accelerate by up to 100%. That's not a gradual decline. That's your strength vanishing before your eyes. But what if I told you that everything changed for my mother when we discovered 7 specific nutrients, 7 simple vitamins that, when taken correctly before bedtime, can actually reverse this nightly muscle theft? What if the difference between shuffling through your golden years and dancing through them could be as simple as what you do in the 30 minutes before you lay your head on your pillow? Today, I'm sharing my mother's complete transformation story and the exact protocol that helped her go from fearing every step to hiking 3 miles with me last weekend. Because every family deserves to keep their loved ones strong, vibrant, and truly living, not just surviving. Part 2. The 7 Guardians. My mother's journey back to strength. After my mother's fall, I spent countless nights in my home office, surrounded by research papers and medical journals, determined to understand what had really happened to her body. What I discovered wasn't just science. It was hope wrapped in 7 simple nutrients that would become our nightly ritual. The first breakthrough came when I learned about my mother's leg cramps. Every night around 3 a.m., she'd wake up with painful muscle spasms that left her afraid to move. I discovered that after age 60, our bodies absorb magnesium 40% less efficiently, leaving our muscles in a constant state of tension. "But Mom," I explained, sitting at her kitchen table with a cup of her famous chamomile tea, "not all magnesium is created equal. The kind they sell at most drugstores can upset your stomach. We need magnesium glycinate. It's gentle enough for bedtime and gets absorbed where it's needed most." Within 2 weeks of taking 250 mg of magnesium glycinate 30 minutes before bed, something beautiful happened. My mother called me at 7 a.m., excitement bubbling in her voice. "Sarah, I slept through the entire night. No cramps, no tossing and turning. My legs feel peaceful. A study from the Journal of Geriatric Physiology showed that seniors taking magnesium glycinate nightly saw a 34% improvement in morning muscle function. But for us, it wasn't about statistics. It was about my mother waking up feeling like herself again. Guardian Number 6. Vitamin B12 as methylcobalamin. The communication lifeline. The second revelation came during a routine blood test. Despite eating plenty of meat and dairy, my mother's B12 levels were dangerously low. This explained the numbness in her fingertips and the way she'd sometimes miss the last step on the stairs. Think of B12 as the telephone lines between your brain and your muscles, I told her. As we age, our stomach acid decreases, making it nearly impossible to extract B12 from food. Your muscles are getting mixed signals, or sometimes no signals at all. The solution was methylcobalamin, the active form of B12 that dissolves under the tongue, bypassing the digestive system entirely. Within 8 weeks, not only did her blood work improve, but she started noticing her handwriting was steadier, and she felt more confident navigating her morning walks. Research from the Annals of Neurology showed a 49% improvement in nerve muscle coordination with high-dose methylcobalamin supplementation. For my mother, it meant the difference between fumbling with her house keys and opening the door with the confidence she'd had for decades. Living in Seattle, my mother hadn't seen meaningful sunshine in months. When her vitamin D test came back at a mere 18 ml, normal is 30 to 50, everything clicked into place. Her fatigue, her muscle weakness, even her reluctance to leave the house. It all made sense. Vitamin D isn't just about bones, Mom, I explained while preparing her evening supplements. It's actually a hormone that tells your muscle fibers to grow strong and resist breakdown. Without enough D3, your muscles are essentially working without their supervisor. We started with 2,000 IU of vitamin D3, taken with her dinner, always with a bit of healthy fat like the avocado she loved on her evening toast. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. After 12 weeks, her lower limb strength had improved by 18%. But more importantly, she started suggesting our weekend walks, instead of me having to encourage them. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism confirmed what we witnessed. Adequate D3 levels directly correlate with muscle strength in seniors. But the real victory was watching my mother stand up from her favorite armchair without using her hands for support, something she hadn't done in 2 years. The fourth piece of the puzzle came from understanding inflammation. Every time my mother exercised, or even did light housework, she'd feel sore for days afterward. Her body was creating more damage than it could repair. Imagine your muscle cells are having a party, I told her. But some uninvited guests called free radicals crash the party and start breaking things. Vitamin E is like having security guards who escort the troublemakers out before they can cause damage. We chose a natural vitamin E complex with mixed tocopherols, not the synthetic version found in many supplements. Taking 400 IU an hour after dinner became part of her routine. The difference was remarkable. She could tend to her beloved rose garden without paying for it with 3 days of muscle soreness. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors with higher vitamin E intake had 27% better physical performance, including grip strength. For my mother, it meant she could open pickle jars again, a small victory that felt enormous. Despite eating plenty of protein-rich foods, my mother's muscle mass continued to decline. The missing link was vitamin B6 in its active form, P5P. Without adequate B6, her body couldn't effectively convert dietary protein into new muscle tissue. It's like having a translator who speaks both protein and muscle, I explained. Your body is getting the message, but without B6, it can't understand what to do with it. The European Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that older adults with higher B6 levels maintained 22% more lean muscle mass over 3 years. For my mother, taking 50 milliliters of P5P 60 minutes before bed meant that her nightly protein repair could finally happen efficiently. The change was subtle, but significant. Her clothes fit better, her posture improved, and she started talking about feeling solid again, a word she hadn't used to describe herself in years. One day, my mother mentioned that her muscles felt loose and unreliable. This led me to research collagen production and the crucial role of vitamin C in maintaining muscle structure. As we age, vitamin C absorption decreases just when we need it most for tissue repair. Vitamin C is the architect's blueprint for your muscle fibers, I told her. Without enough, it's like trying to build a house without a plan. Everything falls apart. We switched to a buffered form of vitamin C to be gentle on her stomach, taking 500 milliliters on an empty stomach before bed. The British Journal of Nutrition found that older adults with the highest vitamin C intake had a 67% lower risk of significant muscle mass loss. Within weeks, my mother reported that her muscles felt more connected and reliable. She wasn't afraid of her legs giving out anymore. The final and most crucial discovery was vitamin K2 in the MK7 form. This was the game changer that brought everything together. K2 acts as a traffic controller, directing calcium to bones and muscles while keeping it out of arteries. This is the conductor of the orchestra, I told my mother, as we sat in her living room, evening light filtering through her lace curtains. All the other vitamins are talented musicians, but K2 makes sure they're all playing the same beautiful symphony. The research was stunning. A study in Nutrients showed that seniors supplementing with K2 MK7 saw a 55% increase in mitochondrial efficiency in their muscle cells. Even more shocking, subjects deficient in K2 experienced double the overnight muscle breakdown. We started with 100 mg of K2 MK7, taken with a small spoonful of her favorite Greek yogurt right before bed. This became the cornerstone of her transformation. 3 months later, my mother was not just walking without fear. She was volunteering at the community garden, carrying her own groceries, and planning a trip to visit her sister in Denver. The woman who had fallen on her bathroom floor was now living her life in full color again. Part 3. The Sacred Bedtime Ritual, Making Every Night Count. Watching my mother transform taught me that knowledge without proper application is just wishful thinking. Together, we developed what she calls her sacred bedtime ritual. 5 simple principles that maximize the power of these 7 guardians. My mother learned to take her fat-soluble vitamins, D3, K2, and E, with a small portion of healthy fat. Her favorite became a few walnuts with her K2, which boosted absorption by up to 70%. "It's like giving my vitamins a first-class ticket," she'd joke. We discovered that minerals compete for absorption. Her calcium supplement moved to morning with breakfast, while magnesium stayed at bedtime. "They need their personal space," she'd say. "Just like people, choosing active forms, methylcobalamin over cyanocobalamin, P5P over regular B6, MK7 over other K2 forms, meant her body could use them immediately. No translation required, as she put it. Every night at 9 p.m., my mother would begin her ritual. Consistency turned these supplements from pills into powerful medicine. "It's like tending a garden," she'd explain to her friends. "You can't water it once and expect flowers." A small glass of water with each vitamin became her rule. "These vitamins need a boat to sail through my body," she'd say, making even hydration feel meaningful. This ritual became sacred, not just because it worked, but because it represented hope, self-care, and the promise of tomorrow's strength. 6 months after that terrible night when my mother fell, I stood in her kitchen watching something I'll never forget. She was making her famous apple pie for my daughter's birthday, rolling dough with strong, confident strokes, humming softly to herself. When she lifted the heavy cast-iron Dutch oven to move it to the counter, I held my breath. But she didn't struggle. She didn't grimace. She simply moved with the grace and strength I remembered from my childhood, when she seemed capable of anything. "You know what I love most about my evening vitamins?" she said, catching me watching her. "It's not just that I feel stronger. It's that I feel like myself again. Like the woman who raised 3 children, who climbed mountains with your father, who refused to let life happen to her instead of living it fully." That's when I realized this journey wasn't really about vitamins at all. It was about reclaiming the story of our later years, refusing to accept that decline is inevitable, and understanding that sometimes the most powerful medicine comes in the smallest packages. Today, my mother is 76. She leads a walking group at her community center, tends to a garden that's the envy of her neighborhood, and recently started taking ballroom dancing lessons with a gentleman friend named Robert. When people ask her secret, she smiles and talks about her 7 guardians and how 30 minutes before bedtime became the most important time of her day. The science is clear, the path is proven, but the choice is entirely yours. Tonight, when you're preparing for sleep, you have a decision to make. Will you go to bed hoping you'll feel stronger tomorrow? Or will you take action that makes strength inevitable? If my mother's story resonates with you, if you see yourself in her journey, then I encourage you to choose your first guardian tonight. Start with just one. Perhaps magnesium glycinate for peaceful sleep, or vitamin K2, MK7, for comprehensive muscle support. Your muscles have been waiting patiently for the nutrients they need to rebuild, repair, and restore. Tonight could be the night you stop the silent theft and start your own transformation story. Because somewhere in the quiet hours before dawn, while the world sleeps, your body is preparing for tomorrow's possibilities. Give it the tools it needs, and watch as your days become filled, not just with years, but with the strength to make those years truly count. Your sunrise moment is waiting. All you have to do is choose to greet it with intention, one evening ritual at a time.